The coffee shop hums with morning energy. But all Jake Thornton hears is the slight tremor in her voice when she says his name. "You're staring." Elena Martinez doesn't look up from her laptop screen, fingers dancing across the keyboard with practiced precision despite the barely perceptible shake in her left hand. She wears confidence like armor charcoal blazer, hair pulled back in a way that showcases the elegant line of her neck, lips pressed in concentration. Jake shifts in his chair. Across from her, the pharmaceutical sales pitch he'd prepared evaporating. "Maybe I am." She finally looks up, dark eyes, sharp as winter air, assess him with the kind of directness that usually makes his targets blush and fumble. Instead, she leans back, crossing her arms. "Let me guess. You walked in here thinking you'd charm the difficult hospital administrator into buying your company's latest miracle drug." Her smile is razor thin. "How's that working out for you?" The tremor in her hand betrays nothing about the steel in her voice. Jake has closed deals with CEOs, seduced board members' wives at charity galas, built a reputation on reading people's weaknesses. But Elena Martinez, 32, head of pharmaceutical purchasing at Denver General, diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's at 28, isn't playing by any rules he knows. Honestly, he abandons his usual script entirely. "I thought I'd walk out of here with your signature on a contract. Instead, I've been sitting here for 20 minutes trying to figure out how someone so young ended up running the toughest purchasing department in Colorado. Disappointment looks good on you, Thornton. You should try it more often." The way she says his name like she's tasting something she's not sure she likes sends heat crawling up his spine. This isn't how these meetings go. He's Jake Thornton. Women don't challenge him. They melt for him. "You researched me. I research everyone who wants to take my hospital's money." She closes the laptop with a soft click. "Graduated top of your class at Northwestern. 5 years of record-breaking sales. Reputation for versatility in your closing techniques." The pause before versatility lands like a slap. She knows about the affairs, the married clients, the way he's used charm and good looks to build an empire on other people's weaknesses. "And yet you're still sitting here." Elena stands, smoothing her skirt. The movement is deliberate, controlled. But Jake catches the way her fingers grip the table's edge just a moment too long. Stability, balance, things he's never had to think about. "I'm still sitting here because your drug works." She moves around the table, stopping close enough that he catches her scent something clean and warm with an edge of determinate. "Ian, my mother has Parkinson's. Had it for 15 years before she died." The confession hits him like cold water. Personal information is currency in his world. Weakness to be exploited. But the way Elena says it matter of fact, unflinching, makes something twist uncomfortably in his chest. "Elena, Dr. Martinez." The correction is soft but firm. She's standing over him now, and he has to tilt his head back to meet her eyes. "I'll consider your proposal, but not because you're charming, not because you're handsome, and definitely not because you think I'm some conquest to be won." She moves toward the door, then pauses. "I'll consider it because lives depend on it, including mine." The coffee shop noise floods back as Jake sits alone, staring at the empty chair across from him. His phone buzzes with texts from other clients, other deals, other easy victories. But all he can think about is the tremor in her hand and the way she said "including mine" like a dare. 3 weeks later, Jake finds himself in the hospital parking garage at 7 p.m., watching Elena walk toward her car through the fluorescent gloom. He shouldn't be here. The contract is signed, the deal closed, his biggest sale this quarter. But Elena Martinez has become a splinter under his skin, working deeper every time he tries to forget her. "Thornton." She doesn't sound surprised to see him leaning against her Honda Civic. Just tired. The confident armor she wore in the coffee shop has shifted, revealing glimpses of something more vulnerable underneath. Long day, 13 hours, of budget meetings and insurance appeals. She fumbles with her keys, and he notices the tremor is worse when she's exhausted. "What do you want?" "Dinner." The word hangs between them like a challenge. Elena looks up sharply, dark eyes searching his face for the angle, the manipulation he must be working. "I don't date pharmaceutical reps. Good thing I'm asking Dr. Martinez, not the purchasing director." She laughs a real laugh, surprised out of her. It transforms her face, softening the sharp edges into something breathtaking that was smooth. Do lines like that usually work? I don't know. I've never used one before. The honesty surprises them both. Jake has seduction down to a science, the right compliments, the perfect timing, reading desire like a roadmap to what he wants. But standing here in the dim garage light, watching Elena consider him with those penetrating eyes, his usual arsenal feels useless. There's a tight place on Colfax. She doesn't move closer, but something in her posture shifts, opens. Terrible. Atmosphere, great food. Tomorrow at 8. Not tonight? Tonight I'm going home to a hot bath and 17 pharmaceutical proposals I still need to review. She steps closer, close enough that he could reach out and touch her face if he wanted to. Close enough to see the faint lines of exhaustion around her eyes. Unless you're volunteering to help with the paperwork. The suggestion is innocent, but the way she says it low and teasing makes his pulse quicken. This is what he's used to. The moment when professional becomes personal, when the prey starts moving toward the trap. Except Elena doesn't feel like prey. She feels like an equal. I might know a thing or two about pharmaceuticals, might you? She reaches past him to unlock her car, and for a moment they're pressed together in the small space between vehicle and wall. Her breath is warm against his throat, her body close enough that he can feel her heat. The question is whether you know anything about anything else. The challenge is clear. This isn't about business anymore. Hasn't been since that first meeting. This is about two people circling each other, testing boundaries, seeing who'll blink first. Jake has never blinked first in his life, but as Elena slides into her car, starting the engine with hands that shake just slightly, he realizes this might be the first time he doesn't want to win. He wants something else entirely, something he doesn't have a name for yet. 8 o'clock. She says through the open window, "Don't be late. I hate waiting." The Honda disappears into the Denver traffic, leaving Jake alone in the parking garage. His phone buzzes again. Another client, another opportunity, another easy conquest waiting. He deletes the message without reading it. Tomorrow at 8 can't come fast enough. The Thai restaurant has everything Elena promised: cramped tables, harsh lighting, the competing scents of fish sauce and jasmine. But Jake barely notices the atmosphere. He's too busy watching Elena navigate her pad thai with chopsticks, her movements precise despite the tremor that's become more noticeable as the evening progressed. "You're staring again. Maybe I like what I see." She sets down the chopsticks, studying him across the small table. "Tell me something true, Jake Thornton." The use of his first name sends warmth shooting through him. All evening, they've danced around the edges of something real, sharing stories about college, terrible first jobs, the peculiar intimacy of getting to know someone without the pretense of professional politeness. True about what? About why you're really here. And don't say dinner. Her directness is like stepping into cold water, shocking and somehow cleansing. Jake has spent years perfecting the art of saying nothing while appearing to reveal everything. But Elena's dark eyes seem to see straight through him. "I've been thinking about you." More specific, "I've been thinking about the way you said including mine. Like you were daring me to be scared of it." Elena's expression softens almost imperceptibly. "And are you scared?" The question hangs in the air between them. Jake could lie, deflect, turn the conversation back to safer ground. Instead, he finds himself leaning forward, close enough to catch the faint scent of her perfume beneath the restaurant's competing aromas. Terrified, the admission surprises them both. Elena's breath catches, just barely, and Jake realizes they've crossed some invisible line. The restaurant noise fades to background static as they sit looking at each other, across 12 inches of space that might as well be the edge of a cliff. "I scare men away," she says quietly. "The diagnosis, the uncertainty, the medications that make me nauseous and tired and not what anyone expects from a woman my age." "Elena, let me finish." Her voice is steady, but Jake can see the vulnerability beneath the surface. "I scare them away. Or they stay and try to fix me, or they stay and pretend nothing's wrong, until they can't pretend anymore. So tell me which one you are, Jake, before we do something stupid." The raw honesty in her voice makes his chest tight. This is the moment he usually runs when things get too real, too complicated, too much like actual emotion instead of just conquest. Instead, He reaches across the table and covers her hand with his. Her skin is warm, soft, and the slight tremor beneath his palm feels like a bird's heartbeat, fragile and fierce at the same time. "I don't want to fix you," he says, surprising himself with how much he means it. "I don't want to pretend nothing's wrong. I want to know what happens if I stop running from complicated things." Elena turns her hand palm up, threading their fingers together. The gesture is simple, innocent, but the contact sends electricity racing up his arm. "This is the stupidest idea I've had in years," she whispers. "Probably." They sit holding hands across the tiny table, surrounded by the clatter of dishes and other people's conversations. And Jake feels something shift inside him, like a door he's kept locked for years is finally creaking open. Elena's phone buzzes against the table. She glances at it and sighs. "I need to go. Early surgery tomorrow, and I have to take my evening meds before." She stops, color rising in her cheeks. "Too much information." "Not enough," Jake says, and means it. "I want to know these things about you." She studies his face for a long moment, as if trying to decide whether to believe him. Then she stands, gathering her purse with movements that are careful but not self-conscious. "Walk me to my car." Outside, the Denver air is crisp with approaching autumn. Elena's car is parked under a streetlight, and in its glow Jake can see the exhaustion settling into her features. "This was nice," she says, fishing for her keys. "Surprisingly nice, Elena." He steps closer, close enough to touch. "Can I?" "Yes." The word comes out breathless, barely audible. Jake frames her face in his hands, thumbs tracing the elegant line of her cheekbones, and slowly, carefully kisses her. Elena's lips are soft, warm, and she tastes like jasmine tea and possibility. The kiss is gentle, exploratory, nothing like the practiced seductions he's used to. When they break apart, both breathing unsteadily, Jake rests his forehead against hers. "Definitely stupid," Elena whispers. "The stupidest." They stand there for a moment, wrapped in the circle of streetlight, before Elena's phone buzzes again. She glances at it and steps back, the spell breaking. "I really do have to go." Jake watches her drive away, touching his lips where he can still taste her kiss. Everything is about to change. He can feel it like electricity in the air before a storm. And for the first time in his life, he's not afraid of the lightning. Jake's apartment has never felt emptier than it does at 2 a.m., 3 days after their first kiss. He's sitting on his leather sofa, staring at his phone, debating whether to call Elena. They've texted careful, polite messages about work and weather and nothing that matters, but he can't stop thinking about the way she felt in his arms, the soft sound she made when their lips met. His doorbell rings. Elena stands in his hallway wearing jeans and a rumpled sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looks younger like this, but the expression in her eyes is anything but innocent. "I couldn't sleep," she says without preamble. Jake steps aside to let her in, hyper-aware of every detail, the way she moves through his space, touching nothing, but somehow claiming it just by being there. She's never been here before, but she doesn't look around with curiosity. Her focus is entirely on him. "Bad night?" "Terrible night." She turns to face him, and the raw honesty in her voice makes his chest tight. "The medication makes everything intense. Emotions, sensations, dreams. I dreamed about you." The confession hangs in the air between them. Jake has had countless women in his apartment, but none of them has ever looked at him the way Elena is looking at him now, like she's seeing something she's been searching for without knowing it. "Elena, I know what you do," she says, stepping closer. "Your reputation, the conquests, the way you use people's weaknesses against them. Each word is a small knife, precise and cutting." Jake wants to defend himself, to explain that what he feels for her is different, but the words stick in his throat. "I know," Elena continues, close enough now that he can see the gold flecks in her dark eyes, "and I don't care." She reaches up and frames his face in her hands, the gesture so achingly tender that Jake's breath catches. "I don't care because I've spent for years being careful, being sensible, protecting myself from anything that might hurt or disappoint or complicate my life." Her thumbs trace his cheekbones with feather-light touches. "But you know what hurts more than being disappointed?" "What?" "Feeling nothing at all." The words break something open inside him. Jake pulls her against him, threading his fingers through her hair, and kisses her with 4 years of careful control finally shattered. Elena responds with a hunger that matches his own, her hands fisting in his shirt, her body pressing against him like she can't get close enough. The tremor in her hands is barely noticeable now, overwhelmed by the intensity of what's passing between them. "I want you," she whispers against his lips, and the simple honesty of it nearly brings him to his knees. Jake lifts her easily, carrying her to his bedroom, but once there they move with deliberate slowness. Each touch is a question, each kiss an answer. Elena's skin is warm silk under his hands, and she responds to every caress with soft sounds that drive him to the edge of sanity. "Tell me," she breathes as he traces patterns on her bare shoulder with his lips. "Tell you what?" "Something true, the truest thing you know." Jake stops, lifting his head to look at her. Elena's hair is spread across his pillow like spilled ink, her lips swollen from his kisses, her eyes dark with desire and something deeper. "I've never wanted to stay before," he admits, "with anyone, ever." Elena's breath catches, and now I can't imagine leaving. The confession seems to break the last of Elena's defenses. She pulls him down to her, and they lose themselves in each other in whispered confessions and desperate touches, in the sweet intimacy of two people choosing vulnerability over safety. Later, they lie tangled in Jake's sheets, Elena's head on his chest, her breathing deep and even. Jake traces patterns on her bare arm, marveling at the way she fits against him. "I should go," she murmurs without making any move to leave. "Should you? I have surgery at 6, and if I stay..." She tilts her head to look at him, and Jake sees something that looks like fear in her eyes. "If I stay, this becomes real. It's already real." Elena sits up, pulling the sheet around herself, and Jake feels the shift immediately. The walls going back up, the careful distance reasserting itself. "You don't understand," she says quietly. "This isn't just about being sick, Jake. It's about getting worse, about losing pieces of myself I can't get back, about becoming someone you won't recognize." Jake sits up too, reaching for her, but she moves away. "Elena, you think you want this now, but you don't know what you're signing up for. The doctor's appointments, the medication schedules, the good days and the terrible days, and all the uncertainty in between." She's at his bedroom door now, gathering her scattered clothes with movements that are careful and controlled, professional, like she's sealing herself away again. "Don't," Jake says, surprising himself with the desperation in his voice. "Don't run from this." Elena pauses in the doorway, still clutching her clothes, and for a moment Jake thinks she might stay. Then she shakes her head. "I'm not running from anything, Jake. I'm running toward the life I can actually handle." She's gone before he can respond, leaving Jake alone in his rumpled bed, surrounded by the lingering scent of her perfume and the echo of words that feel like goodbye. Outside, Denver sleeps on, unaware that everything has just changed again. Jake finds Elena in the hospital chapel at noon on a Tuesday, sitting in the back pew with her head bowed and her hands folded in her lap. It's been 2 weeks since she left his apartment, 2 weeks of unanswered texts, avoided phone calls, and the peculiar agony of watching someone disappear while staying exactly where they've always been. He's seen her at the hospital, glimpses in the hallway, her voice through conference room doors, but she's perfected the art of being unreachable. Until today. "I'm not religious," she says without looking up as he slides into the pew beside her. "Neither am I." They sit in silence, surrounded by the chapel's careful tranquility. Stained glass windows cast colored patterns across the empty pews, and somewhere in the distance, Jake can hear the familiar sounds of the hospital monitors beeping, pages being called, life continuing its relentless forward motion. "My hands are getting worse," Elena says quietly. Jake looks down and sees what she means. The tremor that was barely noticeable 3 months ago is more pronounced now, her fingers dancing with a rhythm she can't control. "I had to step back from surgery last week. Too much risk." Her voice is matter of fact, but Jake can hear the grief underneath. 15 years of training, and now I get to watch other people's hands do what mine can't anymore. The pain in her voice makes Jake's chest tight. "Elena, let me finish." She finally looks at him, and the raw honesty in her dark eyes takes his breath away. "I've been thinking about what you said, about not wanting to leave, and I Realized I've been doing exactly what I accused other people of doing. I've been trying to protect you from me. Jake turns in the pew, facing her fully. I don't need protection from you. Yes, you do. Elena's smile is sad and sweet and utterly heartbreaking. You need protection from falling in love with someone whose future is written in doctor's appointments and medication schedules, and losing pieces of herself she can't get back. Too late. The words come out raw, honest, without any of his usual polish or charm. Elena's breath catches. Jake, too late, Elena. I'm already there. He reaches for her hands, covering the tremor with his steady palms. I'm already so far gone that I don't remember what it felt like before I knew you. Tears gather in her eyes, but she doesn't pull away. This isn't going to be easy. I don't want easy. I want you, even when I can't hold a coffee cup without spilling it. Even when the medications make me sick and tired, and not the woman you fell for. Jake lifts their joined hands to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to her knuckles. Especially then, Elena studies his face for a long moment, as if trying to memorize every detail. Then she leans forward and kisses him soft and sweet, and tasting like tears and possibility. This is still the stupidest idea I've ever had, she whispers against his lips, probably. And it's going to be complicated and messy and sometimes heartbreaking. Definitely. Elena pulls back to look at him, and Jake sees the exact moment she stops running. The walls come down, the careful distance evaporates, and she's just Elena, brilliant and brave and beautiful, and his. I love you too, she says. Simply. The words hit Jake like sunlight after storm. He frames her face in his hands, thumbs brushing away the tears that have spilled over onto her cheeks. We're going to figure this out, he promises, together. All of it, the medications and the appointments and the uncertainty. We're going to figure it out because the alternative is not having this. Elena nods, leaning into his touch. Together, they sit there in the quiet chapel, holding each other while the colored light patterns shift across the walls, and the hospital continues its eternal rhythm around them. Jake thinks about the man he was 3 months ago, charming and empty, and afraid of anything that required him to stay. That man feels like a stranger now. So what happens now? Elena asks. Jake stands and extends his hand to her. Elena looks at it for a moment, then places her trembling fingers in his steady palm. Now we go home, he says, helping her to her feet, and we start the rest of our lives. Elena smiles, the real smile that transforms her entire face, and Jake feels something settle into place inside him, like a puzzle piece clicking home, like a door opening onto rooms he never knew existed. They walk out of the chapel hand in hand, into the bright Denver afternoon, toward whatever comes next, together. Behind them, the colored light from the stained glass windows dances across empty pews, and somewhere in the distance, a bell chimes the hour. Time moving forward, carrying them with it into love and uncertainty and all the beautiful, messy complications of choosing each other. Again and again and again.